Composer Gloves here, and today we're going to approach a more advanced, substantially more advanced topic than I have in the past. It is the subject of making a kick with Harmor. Now, there's a really easy way, which is just drag a kick into the image section and then use that as your kick, which is like using Harmor as a sampler. To me, that's just like drop dead easy. So we're going to try and synthesize a kick. So I already have one because, yeah. And here we go. This is what my kick sounds like after a bit of tinkering. So, you know, it'd probably be part of a layer, and I could go after other types of kicks. I could try lowering the tone. It also has an interesting sort of So anyways, that's my kick. And let's talk about what's going on here. Well, in fact, you know what? Let's just make one because it'd probably be easier. But essentially, part A is my sub. It's my sine tone. So that's my sine tone. My sine tone's getting a very short volume envelope because, you know, it's essentially just a click. So it goes doom, doom, doom. So it just turns off. And then on my pitch, you can see I'm bringing it down 4 octaves really quickly, like doom, doom. This kick basically could set the timbre between a tom and a kick. You notice the second we go linear, it's not so pleasant anymore because it spends too much time down in this lower octave area. So as soon as we get here, we really want it to be decaying quite quickly. We just want the beginning of our tone. And what they used to do is they used to just gate a tone. They literally just turned on a low tone, and we could do that. We could add in a layer. We could, you know, do something like this. We can make this substantially lower. And on this one, we could do something like this, where we turn on the sub bass, and we could supplement our kick here, which this is a very common thing they used to do all the time. To make their kick a bit bigger. And what we could do here is then bring the level of this up, and we can make this a bit longer because this is just a sine tone. Well, it's not a sine tone yet. First, you want it to be a sine tone, just so we're clear about this. This needs to be a sine wave. So drums are a much more advanced topic, but they're fun. So now it's just a sine wave. And we can afford to make this envelope longer. It sounds a little bit like a separate sound, so we may want this. Whoops. This is the streaming issue I always have, but I can never figure out, or the recording. So there we go. That sort of fits in better. Once you got the tone you want, you can create the envelope that you want. We could compress this. Anyways, that's a way to supplement a kick. There's easier ways just with a tone generator or something with just a gate. But so anyways, we got this pitch bend and this volume. If you do those two things, you've already got most of it figured out with a sine tone. So it's got to be a sine tone. So that's like, look at the sub bass video, look at the click video, and lasers, I believe I talk about the pitch bend capabilities. But this is a very specific thing. So once you have your, I've turned that off, right? Okay, so once you have this thing sort of going on, I turned up the harmonizer because I wanted some upper stuff with it off, with it on. And I put it on the prism to decouple any harmonics that did exist from their fundamental relationship. So this is all just sort of precautionary sound design stuff, not necessarily stuff that made any sort of a difference because I'm filtering all this crap out. But occasionally I might bring my filter up and you see it creates a very different sort of thumpier tone. And as when I do that, this stuff makes a big difference. Maybe not that much. Yeah, right about there. So I can leave that up. I have my sub on just a little bit and it's coming through here. I have the pluck on, and the reason the pluck's on is so that it naturally decays the higher stuff as it would happen in real life. So it's just a really nifty thing. It's not doing a lot, but it's doing it just enough. This is all sort of subtlety stuff. I have distortion on with it off. It loses some of what's going on here. So there's a type of distortion that sort of goes with the kick that I wound up using soft saturation, and this is the matrix I sort of settled on. I compress the low end, and then on part B is the click. So it's a fundamental. By itself, it sounds a little funny, but together they sort of work out. Now, with that in mind, I did not need to have the filter up that much with a layer. So I turned on part B, and I knew I needed a click. And so I went through, I definitely used the prism on this one because I knew this was going to be on a higher harmonic click. Same envelope sort of deal, except for no pitch envelope this time. Just a volume envelope, a really, really fast one. And the pluck is on much heavier this time. You can see the higher harmonics are disappearing faster as they would. I turned on the sub on this, all three of them, and I have it on the around fundamental, not below fundamental, because the stuff's already pretty high. The filter's on. As you see, it behaves pretty much like a kick would. And I am also, well, all the effects down below carry over, which would be the advantage of opening up a separate Harmor to do this. But I wanted to do it all in one Harmor. And so this is where I got. So let's really quick make one, just so that, so this would give us the body of our kick. And then to wed these two would take a really delicate, it would take some time. Take a good ear. So let's open one and we get the wonderful, amazing saw wave. Okay, so let's get started. So first off, we know we're going to need a sine tone for our sub part of our kick, you know, the big bottom end. Because I could just leave it there, but I feel like an explanation is really necessary. So, okay, that's exactly what we want. We're going to turn our sub on. I'm just going to, well, you know what? I'm going to work with my sub off for now and just play some lower notes. I'm going to go to my volume. I'm going to take this, and this envelope is so important. It's sort of a big pain to get right, though. So we're going to bring this in. This is where a lot of deep house stuff sort of comes from. Whoa, way too much, man, bro. Way too much. Where's the feel? The feel goods. So I'm going to settle right around there. I'm going to bring my harmonic level up. And I'm going to come over to my effects. I'm going to compress the low end. I'm going to add some soft saturation. So this is sort of the principle behind 808s as well, is the amount of decay you get on some of these. So they don't necessarily do a pitch bend. So what they do is they do something like this. That's how you get those sort of deep house basses. And what they'll do is they'll go up just a little bit. Gosh dang it, touchy envelope. Right there. That's like the 808 right there. Like super easy, lemon squeezy 808. So, but we don't want an 808. We want a kick. So to sell the kick, you need to come over here to the pitch. There's a train. And to do the pitch, we're going to pitch bend it down 4 octaves. Now, right now, it goes down too fast. So we want this curve to be the other way. We want it to spend more time up here where the tone's at. And then as it comes down, we want to spend less time in these lower octaves because that's going to create, it's like a ripple type sound. It's like I'd call it a rip, but you see we get this sort of it's still moving around. It's like weird. So we're going to use that. And I'm going to just settle on that right now. We could spend a long time. A few other things I tossed on here is I added in a couple high harmonics, just a few of them. I turned them down so their amplitude scrolls down logarithmically as well. I cloned them, turned the pluck on a little bit for good measure, and decoupled them from the harmonic. I don't even use times. And turn my pluck on a little bit more and filter this jazz. Maybe not such a steep filter. It's still got too much of a... I got to be careful how much of this high stuff I add. So now I'm going to go over to B. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to do the same thing, except for this time I'm going for a click instead. So I'm going to add this. I should make a video just called 808 because it would get a lot of views. People would be like, I want to know how to make an 808. Okay, so we're just going to zoom in here, and the click is the easier part. So I'm going to turn this so we can just hear our click for now. And this is doing pretty much what I want. Getting a phase relationship is important. We're going to randomize the phase of all the individual harmonics. So we always get a click when we do that, generally. Some clicks, and it will make it sound more natural as we roll through them. Be interesting to do that with a rolling phase on the... No, there's too much variation. Maybe a small roll. I'm okay with a smaller roll. Okay, so we're going to turn the harmonizer on this. Move it way away from the harmonic spectrum. We have our variation all the way up. Might add. And we're going to filter this part out. This is stuff that I just skipped a lot of details. So I'm going to move it over to part A more because it's more about this sub than it is about the click. Bring the strength down on the harmonizer. I'm going to go ahead and turn up my low stuff. And you know what? On this one, no, I'm not going to. I was thinking about adding a pitch bend on this one too. Maybe a small one. And then we can EQ both of these. EQ this other one. Now you know where some of those dumb toms come from. These people always be sharing their toms. And you see we get a pretty reasonable kick. Now this is mostly for fun. You could use it for something, I suppose. Now you can really hear the click on this one. And so this relationship, now this by itself may not be a sound you're interested in as a separate sound, but it'd be very interesting as a layer. Say you've got a kick that you don't enjoy so much, well then you could substitute some things in and try and give it body or weight or maybe a snappier snap. Like these are more manipulation techniques for you as a synthesis using your knowledge to change otherwise not changed sounds generally. And again, people use sine tones all the time to supplement the low end of their kicks. What I like to do with something like this, like let's say this is the kick that I have to work with. And, oh my. And I do not have a Harmor opened to use it. I could go into the image section and do a bunch of black magic, mess with the formants and stuff, which I guess we'll talk about. But something else I could do is I like to use Drake's bass drum, and I'll open up bass drum and I will lay down a beat. Bass drum's essentially the same thing. However, they have a noise thing going on. And I'll go ahead and supplement it with however many bass drums I need. And I'll apply compression outside and do things till I get the kick the exact way that I want it. You can take any kick using this method and pretty much make it the kick of your dreams. Now, sometimes you may find yourself running in circles. It could just get really old really fast, but I found this to be very helpful for me, especially when I learned about mixing. Now, because before I would create my song and all my faders would be at unity, and as a result, when I was composing and stuff, I wanted my stuff to sound good, while I was working because I was producing, but I didn't really know that much about mixing. And so I do this, and I knew I was supposed to turn things down, and I'd been told by people that you should generally cut with EQ. But then you hear later on from pros that boost, and they say don't be afraid of boosting, but don't be afraid to cut instead. And you talk about the whole everything like that. And then finally, I had someone I learned a lot more about mixing, and now I'll create with my faders somewhere around here. I'll still monitor pretty hot, and then when I'm mixing, I've got my creation side done, and then I'll do this. I bring everything down, or really, really low at the very least. Well, that's kind of weird. I wonder why it's doing that. What the heck? Anyways, so I'll bring everything down, and then I'll slowly bring stuff back up, and I'll mix it. And I'll try and mix it around 6 or 9 dB for a variety of reasons so that it peaks at 6. That way, later on, the main reason you do this is if you want your kick to be a little hotter and stand out of your mix, you have a couple dB to do that. You can push your stuff, and you can pull stuff back, and you can make it, and you can mix it the way of your dreams, and I'll do more creative stuff here. Then I will master it and send it through compressors and all that jazz. I try to do it inside my session, and I'll render out stuff to audio if I have to. Sometimes I'll bounce it out as a wave, which is what people, and there's all sorts of additional mastering things that go on outside where you use digital clipping, and there's just a bunch of stuff. So then I'll do that, and then I'll come out and I'll do some more creative stuff at that stage because I'm the composer, so I can do that. So it's really neat. I can manipulate the mastering the way I want it. And this is all stuff I've done recently. So I'm in the process of going through my old tunes and taking them down and really just giving them a makeover, maybe even changing some of the compositional points and then putting back up. So some of them I won't, some of them I will. I mean, I like to sort of have some stuff to see where I came from and what I used to do. I don't necessarily want to change my history, but I do want to update things, So anyways, another reason your kick might sound like crap is you've mixed it. The whole reason I said all this is you've mixed it up there with the rest of your track, and then you can't get it to pop because it's sitting right there. So you need to that's one way of doing it. I've tried a variety of methods because I found that I could get the mix the way I want, but all of a sudden mastering got way harder, way harder. Because when you're doing it this loud, you've already pretty much got it where you want, and it's pretty much kind of almost mastered to a degree. There's still a couple things you can do to really make it sparkle. And this is stuff that, just new people, when I was brand new, these were just mistakes I was making that are just creative decisions that unfortunately have become rather common in the industry. So, and I've opened up a whole discussion. But anyways, this is a kick. And now let's talk about adding a Harmor. I have not forgotten. And manipulating it using the image section. So you can start off with a sub kick. Let's just open up a kick. So I'm going to go to Black Octopus for this. Kicks. And some of these kicks you've bought, you'll hear the tones. Once you've learned how to tell a kick apart, you can hear the subtone and you can hear the white noise on top of it. If you've ever heard an actual kick, they usually sound, depending on the mic you use, kind of muffled from my opinion. After hearing kicks like this one sounds like an acoustic kick. You can hear the plastic of the drum head. So, but they could have just found a plastic sample. It's kind of hard to tell. This one sounds like synthetic. This one definitely sounds synthetic, or at least supplemented heavily. And so what they'll do, most of these will probably some sort of a mix. So anyways, let's get a kick of some kind. I'm going to look home for more of a sine tone in it. So whatever, that's good. So from here, we can utilize the image option. So we can change the formants, turn the mix all the way on. And there's our kick. Then we're going to add in this kick. We're going to put it on C5 because that's the actual note it was on. Okay, and what you can do is you can change the formants. It'd be interesting to change it to a wide hertz. Bad idea. We have octave. And these are, just go look at my I have a video on the image section in my Harmor from the Ground Up series. Change the scale. And we can change the time. Sounds like a heartbeat. You could get sort of a hi-hat from this too. So just a bunch of interesting options. You could additionally come in here, you could turn on the sub, and you could just go nuts trying to sort of, you really got to know what knobs and stuff do when you touch them if you don't want stuff to backfire on you. So me personally, I don't like that ugly sound they have right there. So I'm going to take it out. So anyways, yeah, that's kicks. Those are kicks with Harmor. Like if you're going to mess with a kick and you're going to use Harmor to do it, that might be the way you want to go about it. We can even add in our other kick. We could create some sort of a house beat while we're on it. So just a bunch of it's just a curious thing, man. So if you have any questions about this, let me know. Subscribe. Let me save this. Subscribe and have a blessed day. Hey, Composed Gloves here, and this is a Sounds Like video, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this sound. So it is a sound in the track Symbolic. It's on my Tracks FL12 playlist playthrough. And this is the track itself. And it